Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Monday edition of Good Morning Vail on TV8. I'm your host, Liz. We have a great day planned for you guys. The wonderful Claire Noble will be joining us, as well as so many more fantastic guests. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show, because Good Morning Vail starts right now.
Get up, get ready to start your day. The mountains are calling you out to play. Come on, we'll make you feel right at home. Good morning, Vail. See what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring, or fall. Your home in the Rockies has it all. So get up, get ready to start your day. The coffee's brewing, you're on your way. The fun is waiting outside your door. Good morning, Vail.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back, everybody. So many great things to do here in the summertime. There's never enough time or space to let you know all about it, but you can always check out TV8 online and find out all of the great things going on. To give you a little bit of an idea of what we have going on, it's been so many years that they've been having the Vail Brew-Out in Avon, and it's coming back, everybody, at Nottingham Park on the 19th of this month. It's a brew fest and a luau, so you kind of get the idea. Maybe you guys can do a little limbo, and of course, all the beer tasting you can imagine. You have to be of age, please know that. There are things for the entire family. There are lots of stuff for the kids. There's a bouncy house, there's arts and crafts, and so many more games and things like that. So you're gonna wanna make sure you get on over to the Vail Brew-Out, all brought to you by the Vail Charitable Fund. Once again, starting on Saturday, the 19th. It's going to be a lot of fun, everybody. Make sure you get on over there. And continuing on over at Nottingham Park in Avon, they always have a movie on Friday night. You can watch the Cinema Under the Stars, as well as Avon Live, which is just always amazing on a Wednesday. So just in a couple of days, we are going to experience the Led Zeppelin experience. If you're a Zeppelin fan, you're going to not want to miss this. It's on the big stage, everybody, and that is where we're going to be on Wednesday night. Spread out on the lawn, enjoy yourselves. There's a lot of food trucks going on there, and of course the hand-walled bar to get your libations. It's a plastic-free event. No plastic at all, everybody. You can get anything you need that is in the proper container right there at Nottingham Park. So get ready for a big week of super fun summer activities. We have a great show in store for you guys. Sit back, relax, enjoy everything. We'll be right back.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back, everybody. We had Kevin sit down with the lovely Claire Noble, who I just think is a fabulous lady all the way around. We had a great talk with her. Let's find out what she had to say.
Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. We always want our viewers to be in the know. And I am sitting with that person from Eagle County, Miss Claire Noble, Public Relations Manager and Public Information Officer. That kind of says it all. You can give us the lowdown.
Two hats.
Many hats.
So, fun fact, we get 2 full moons this month. Wow. So you might not have seen it 2 nights ago, August 1st, we had a full moon, but it was also a very stormy night, so tough to see the moon on a night like that. Our next one, our blue moon, once in a blue moon,
Yeah.
is August 30th. So if you didn't get to
Wow.
see the full moon on Tuesday night, you get another chance at a
right,
full moon.
put that on
You
your calendar.
But I
You
saw
gotta-
the moon coming in this morning, and it was beautiful.
beautiful getting up today, yes.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful this morning.
Yep.
So that reminds me, since we're talking about storms, the monsoon finally showed up.
It did,
You
in
know,
full force.
A month and a half late, but we're glad it's here. And we obviously need the precipitation, we need this moisture, but just want to remind people that along with the monsoon comes increased lightning. So you've probably heard when thunder roars, get indoors. And so people
Right.
just need to be mindful of that when they're planning afternoon activities here in the mountains, that you need to be below tree line and you need to think about your afternoon activities and they might get disrupted because of storms rolling in.
Yeah, yesterday I actually heard a couple of the sirens go off
Yeah.
as soon as the thunder
Yeah.
started to roll in, and then the lightning strikes happened right after.
Well, that's the other thing we've got going on right now, lightning strikes. Luckily, so far, it's been like a tree here and a tree there, and firefighters in our community have been on top of it. So no real problems right now with fires in our county, thank goodness. The other thing, though, are flash floods. And you'll see flash flood. If you sign up for EC Alert, you'll get flash flood warnings or flash flood watches. And so there's a difference. And I love the little taco infographic. A watch is we have all the ingredients to make a taco.
Right.
A warning is we're eating tacos right now. And so also on Tuesday, we had a flash flood watch for Glenwood Canyon. Now, so what happens is this comes from the National Weather Service, and it's really a heads up to CDOT to keep an eye on this, because where do you find flash floods? In steep gullies, steep terrain, but also burn scars.
Right, that's what I saw last night come in about 9:30 on the TV. They were talking about El Jebel and the burn area over there.
Well, Lake Christine, I was just over there
Yep.
the other night for National Night Out. It's still burnt, and that was 2018.
Right.
So the burn scar in Glenwood Canyon is from the Grizzly Creek fire, which happened in 2020. So at each year you go on, the vegetation has a better chance of deepening their roots, anchoring that soil, but it's still vulnerable terrain. So just be aware of that. If you are headed west on a stormy day like we're having this week, you might want to check CDOT before you head out just to see what the conditions in the canyon are like. If there's a watch, they will close the rec path and the recreation areas.
Right.
And then with a warning, they might also close the canyon, just out of an abundance of caution.
Right. And so be careful if you're out there, especially driving on the roadways. That water comes down quick and your car can hydroplane, so a lot of caution.
That's what happened to me, because I was in Basalt on Tuesday night, and it's raining, and you can see where there's some water on the road, so I'm keeping an eye on that. But I was coming past Wolcott, and there's a few spots in there between Wolcott and Edwards you have to be careful. But I had to be in the left lane because there was a line of trucks in the right lane. So I hydroplaned right when I was passing a truck, and he's spraying me with water, so I
Right.
couldn't see and I couldn't quite feel the road. It was very exciting.
Yeah. Builds the adrenaline up just a little bit.
Just gives that afternoon commute a little sizzle.
Yeah, whenever I see one of those trucks, the windshield wipers go on high and you just
Yeah.
kind of take your foot off the accelerator just
Yeah.
enough to get by it.
Nobody do anything stupid,
Right,
please.
right.
So I've talked to you at length about our 140th anniversary celebration.
Yep.
Still going on. Last week we had the public debut of the Eagle County song called Eagle County by Al Mall. We did it over at Riverwalk on their Friday night
Yep.
free concert series. And it was great. The crowd loved it. You can go listen to it on Spotify. So Al Mall, Eagle County.
Nice.
It's a beautiful song.
Okay.
So we also have our speaker series continuing. So on September 6th, we'll be over at Colorado Mountain College, 5:30 in the afternoon, absolutely free to public. We have the historian Randy Samuelson Brown coming. And we're going to talk about the seedier side of the American West experience.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Dig a little
Bad
deep.
whiskey types, loose women. where, you know, it's what put the wild in the Wild West.
Right.
So if you want to take a walk on the wild side, come join us over at Colorado Mountain College on September 6th.
Well, that sounds like something to put in the calendar.
Well, the other thing that's still going on is we have our Then and Now photography exhibit. We've been moving it around the valley. It was just in Red Cliff for an extended stay.
Nice.
And now it was at the rodeo. And we got such great feedback at the rodeo. Our community engagement specialist, Colton Burke, was there, and he said people would come up to him. He said one guy came up to him and pointed out the house in Gilman that he was raised in.
Oh my gosh.
And so it really just sparks conversation. It's now in Minturn, and I have heard they're going to try to take it to their market on Saturdays. So you can either go to Minturn Town Hall or you can go to the market to see those photographs. And then next month in September, we're going to move the exhibit over to the Gypsum Public Library.
It's so nice when you see some long-term Valley residents to take a walk back in history. I know
Yeah.
at the Colorado Sports and Snowboard Ski
Yes.
Museum, you'll see guys going through there and they'll remember some of the things, and you know, there's not a lot of the 10th Mountain left, but when
Yeah.
you talk to those gentlemen, it floods you with the history and everything that this valley was built on.
Absolutely, and it's fascinating to look at the old equipment. And it's like they skied on that,
Right.
and they wore that. I mean, you look at these old pictures from the digital archive, and people are like in wool pants and wool gloves, and yeah, and which is warm, but man, I need a lot more.
Yeah.
On cold
Yep.
mornings
Layer
on
up.
Beaver Creek, I need a lot more than that. Couple of quick items. A lot of people in the valley probably just got a letter from Regina O'Brien, the clerk and recorder, asking them to check their addresses in the voting system. Or if they've moved recently, her letter on the back side, you can update your address information. Two important addresses, and up here we all have two.
Right.
You have your physical address, and then you have your
P.O.
mailing
box.
address. And you have to tell them both of these because your physical address says what you can vote on. So the people in Avon are going to get a different ballot than the folks in Vail or in
Right.
Edwards. So your physical address says what you can vote on. Your mailing address is where they're going to send that ballot. So you either fill out that form and send it back to the clerk and recorder's office, or go votecolorado.gov.
Okay.
Go votecolorado.gov. You can update your information in there as well. We want everybody to vote. We've got an election coming up on November 7th.
Yeah, you've got to get out there and make sure that you're the voice in some of these key topics that are coming up. Funny thing, I was at the DMV yesterday renewing one of my cars. They had an address for me that was a long, long time ago. One of my cars was accurate and the other. So even if you go into the DMV, make sure everything is updated, because you want to get the information from the county, because there's a lot of important topics coming up that you need to talk about.
Well, this one is very close to folks' pocketbooks. There will be a proposition on the ballot November 7th that might mitigate some of the dramatic increase most people have experienced in their property values.
Wow.
So those notices of what your taxes come out in January, if you want to have your say in what that amount might be, you need to vote in that November 7th election.
Good to know, Claire. Well, you always give us so much information, a lot going on in the county, and we're glad to have you in your role so that you can let all the viewers know and let the community know what is happening.
Kevin, thank you so much for having me on this morning. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Claire. We'll be back soon with more Good Morning Vail.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back, everybody. We all know Kevin here as a host, but we also know that he is a wonderful, wonderful addition to All Points North. Kim got to sit down with him and talk about all the great things they do to take care of us. Let's find out what it is.
Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. Now, I love when Kevin Shields joins me in studio for a myriad of reasons. Some of them are which he hosts with me, but also he is just a wealth of information and knows everybody here in the community. So, Kevin, we've got a lot to talk about, you and I.
We do, and we've been going over a lot, and I know, wellness is such a big topic here in the Valley. And we just had Youth 360 on to talk about organizations and programs to help the youth, get them out there experiencing different things so that as they mature, they have those life experiences to build upon, maybe find a passion, maybe know kind of what direction they want to take their lives in, things of that nature. And the wellness part of the community, you know, we're out there with health. We're a healthy community. There's hiking, there's biking, there's rock climbing, there's all of those things that really get people out and invigorated. But one of the things that is starting to come more and more to the forefront is the mental health. And mental health has a lot to do with the way maybe you feel about yourself, the way you perceive the world. Maybe it has to do with going to drugs or alcohol to try to numb certain feelings or to get by on a day-to-day basis. So mental health is a lot, and there's so many different resources and so many different ways to help handle that. So if you feel that you're not at your optimum performance, if you feel you're a little depressed, that you're not seeing things through that lens that you really want to, go out and get some help.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up. You know, we really emphasize, I think, in the past on physical wellness and,
Right.
you know, making sure that you're eating well and that you're moving your body daily and that you're becoming better in those areas. But oftentimes the pressure from becoming better in those areas can put pressure on your mental health. And so tell me a little bit more about resources, how you can get some help. And you obviously have some expertise and some knowledge because you know everything here in the Valley.
Right. Well, when I was at All Points North, working there taught me a lot about the clinical and the medical components that come into play. So there's different types of treatments and there's different resources throughout the Valley. If you feel you're a candidate for a residential type of treatment, which means you're going to be actually staying at the facility where you're receiving your treatment, whether it's the drug, the alcohol, just behavioral health, it's typically a 30-day kind of a stay. A lot of people, when they're there, it's a layer of, it's that onion layer. So once you find out something, you peel away a layer and there's something else that sometimes is deeper rooted. So it's that old adage, did the trauma cause the addiction or did the addiction cause the trauma? And there's so many different types of trauma that people maybe have experienced as an adult or even as a child. And when you start peeling away those layers, you start getting to the core root of maybe why you're feeling the way you're feeling or you're doing things the way you're doing them. So a residential treatment is very intensive. It gets in there and you're able to meet with a clinician. You're able to be in an area that is solely dedicated to your personal well-being. There's another option if you can't get away and maybe you don't have as deep a rooted problems, you don't feel there's something called IOP, intensive outpatient. So you have that freedom to live where you live at your home, maybe participate, even go to work and gear your treatment around some of the schedules, whether it's your own, whether it's your kids, whether it's the work life. So it allows a little more flexibility for people to still get that intensive treatment without being in that residential setting.
So I love that. Now, how receptive would you say the general public is becoming to having these conversations of, hey, I need help? Or do you feel like there's still some resistance, and how can we be better in encouraging that conversation?
You know, I think we've come a long way. There's still a long way to go. And I had spoken a little bit yesterday about it. More and more companies with their insurance plans are putting behavioral health, mental health into that insurance so that their employees have those resources. A lot of insurance companies now have EAP, employee assistance programs, which help that employee get out and explore. It gives you a list of different clinicians or doctors that you can see and go to, but it's not that full coverage like you would get for a broken arm or if you're ill. So more and more companies are taking a more serious approach and realizing that behavioral health really affects people more than sometimes the common flu or getting the cold. So they're building that into those insurance packages to make sure they've got healthy, happy, productive employees. So, you know, everybody talks a lot about the bad things that happened with COVID. I think this is one of the good things that happened with COVID is a little more awareness, and allowing people that time to be alone and at home with themselves to reflect back on kind of where they are in their lives and where they want to go. Because we get so caught up in day to day that we forget that self-care. We forget the self-reflection and the gratitude, which we spoke about yesterday. But it allows, I think it has allowed mental health to be more on the forefront now.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. I think, oftentimes when you're sick, what do? You rest and you stay in bed, but you don't talk about when you are struggling with, maybe it's the burden of life or of situational circumstances that change, and how do you handle that? And you can't just unplug because you appear to be well to everyone else, but your brain is the operation center of everything.
Yeah, when you're going to work, you've got to put on the show that everything's happy, but you're not feeling that. And if you're just not at 100%, then maybe you need a checkup.
Absolutely.
And that mental checkup. Another option for people is also telehealth. And telehealth, just like IOP, offers that option to still stay in your family element, your work element, to do that, and then speak with a therapist over a Zoom call. Now, this can be done for the substance abuse, behavioral health. It can also be done with families, if there's family therapy that needs to take place, or couples. So it's a great option for individuals that want to have the family participate in that, but can't get everybody out due to the drive time or the location and different schedules. So it really adds that flexibility, and I think we're going to see more and more options as we move forward, and this becomes more and more on the forefront, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I would absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful, wonderful way to do that. So, let's say you wanted to start somewhere, you don't know how to do that, you don't want to necessarily reach out to your personal network. How would you advise somebody to start taking the next steps to getting help?
So in this community, as in any other, Google is a great one. If you Google mental health, Eagle, Colorado, or Avon, or Edwards, or Vail, you'll get a lot of resources that will pop up. And you can go through and kind of choose and look at the different types of program that they offer. Obviously, you'll see some residential settings. You'll see the option to go in and see a clinician in person, and then those options too with the telehealth, which we spoke about earlier.
And it'll show you a variety of options as well.
Absolutely.
Not one clinician for everyone.
Right. No, it's got to fit, and you've got to have that relationship with that clinician so that you can peel away those layers of the onion.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I love that you are so knowledgeable in this field, among many other things that you do. It's really impressive. What advice would you give to somebody to take those next steps?
Treat it like your annual physical. Do an annual mental health physical of your body, and maybe go in. And more physicians are now well versed in mental health. So if you're getting your annual checkup and you're not feeling your best, your physician also may be a good resource for you on places to go to get that help. Because more than the physical body, the mental body is more important.
And oftentimes the mental body drives the results of the physical.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Kevin, you're going to be here with me for the rest of the show, but it's always so great to get these one-on-one moments with you to talk about all of your knowledge and your expertise, so thank you.
Well, I love to talk. It is a big topic that's out there, and more people need to take advantage of it, so get out there and make sure you're getting your mental checkups.
Just like Kevin says, get out there, get those mental checkups. We'll be right back with some more here on Good Morning Vail. See you soon.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
This is the History of Avon episode, and I am thrilled to have two local historians with me today to just tell us all about this fabulous town. As I mentioned in the introduction, I have Kim Nottingham. I think we go no further than her name and the history that it brings to this town, as well as Kathy Hiker, who is the president of the Eagle County Historical Society. So with that, before we jump into the town, ladies, I would love for you to tell our viewers, why Vail? How long have you been here? Why do you call it home? And, you know, what is it that just brings out the best of you and your families here? Yeah, Kim, I think you need to go first.
I need to go first. Well, my dad was born in Avon in 1930. He was part of the ranching family that was here.
And your dad's Maury?
My dad, Maury. And so he was here until 1947. He left because he did not want to be a rancher. So he went to off to pursue other endeavors. But he did always love skiing, and so that's what brought us back to the Valley in 1968. We moved to Vail in 1968 as a family. So that's where I was able to grow up between Avon and Vail.
And Kim, what is it that you do now? You've been very involved in the mountains and with, you know, Vail Resorts too. So tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Well, I've been with Vail Resorts 40 years. So I started teaching skiing, and I got in the product sales end of it. And now I'm in guest services. So it's part of who I am, you know, serving guests that come to this valley.
And for the viewers, if you're ever at Beaver Creek, stop in the Slopeside Lounge and just say hello to Kim and thank her for spending time with us here on this episode. So, now Kathy, what about you?
I came to the Valley right out of college in 1972 with a journalism degree. Grew up in Denver, but always wanted to work in the mountains. And I found a job at a little weekly newspaper in Eagle, the Eagle Valley Enterprise, where they hired me to be the editor, which was also the photographer, the ad salesman, and the reporter.
Oh, so you were a one-lady show?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And kind of got captured by the small town living, where you knew everybody and an easy walk out your door to some great scenery and hikes and outdoor activities. So, you know, kind of got captured by this valley.
Yeah, it's not hard to be captured by it in so many different ways. And actually, before we go on, and speaking of this valley, is there a little happy fact, an unknown fact that either the two want to share to our viewers that people may not know about you?
Well, I guess because my last name, people think I was probably born here, but I was born in Aspen when my when my parents were ski bums. So again, my dad following his passion, and my mom, you know, following my dad, and so starting a family. So that's where I was born.
I love that, and it shows that when you came back here, there's a reason why you came back here, because this Vail is so captivating. So, Kathy?
Oh, I would say because of all the time I spend, I write local history books and working in the archives and stuff, I often can pass along the gossip of the 1880s and 1890s in Eagle County better than I can tell you what's going on today.
Oh, I love that. You know something, we might have to have coffee afterwards, because even just talking about Kim's family, it just sparks up a type of history that I just love. And so, well, thank you for sharing that with us. And for our viewers, she's an author of multiple history books. Are they all here in the Valley?
Yes, at the Bookworm, at the Eagle Pharmacy, and so forth, or online through Eagle County Historical Society.com.
Oh, wow. Okay, okay. All right, well, speaking of history and speaking of books, let's talk a little bit about Avon. So let's talk about the history. Where did it start? And actually, I'm going to ask both of you to kind of just tell the story. So, Kathy, how about if you just start it, and then when we get to the family piece of this, it would be great for Kim to share her side of this.
Okay, Avon got its start as a ranching community, and in the 1880s, most of the people who were initially drawn to this county came for the mining. They were mining silver up on Battle Mountain. But that's a very boom and bust kind of economy. It's got its ups and downs, and it's difficult work in the mines. So after people get tired of that unstable situation, they start looking elsewhere for opportunities, and they venture down the valley, see these bottomlands and their potential for agriculture, and the Homestead Act enabled them to acquire land for for free if they would stay on it for 5 years, make improvements, which could be removing the rocks and plowing the field, or building a cabin, or building a fence. Then they could own it. So it was an opportunity. They came here for the opportunity. Definitely, mining is always a big factor in Eagle County, but after about 1900, agriculture was the bigger economic driver for the county.
And what were they mining for back then?
Silver was the big one. They were certainly looking for gold. Then over the years, other metals on Battle Mountain became important. Zinc, molybdenum, they're elements that strengthen steel. Those mines thrived during the World Wars. There was need for what they offered.
And you mentioned the Homestead Act. What year was that?
I believe 1862, around there.
Because then that's a great segue into the Nottingham family, because they were key in utilizing the Homestead Act. So
Right.
Kim,
So my great grandfather William Nottingham was not the first homesteader in Avon, but he bought the first homestead from the Herwick family, and I learned that it was he paid $800 for the rights to 160 acres and the improvements that had been made, including the cabin and the animals and all of that, to the 160 acres. So that was about 1882 that he bought that the rights to that homestead.
and so tell us a little bit about how your family enacted the Homestead Act for their family at the time, because Kathy, as you said, it's about enhancing the homestead. So Kim, continue on with the chronological piece of this.
So William had come out from Iowa by himself for the mining, and he was a teamster and entrepreneur. He was hauling logs and whatnot. So he finally brought his family out from Iowa with 3 children, his wife Angeline, and then 3 of their children. And they kind of lived between Bell's Camp, which was the mining camp below Red Cliff, and above the ghost town now of Gilman. So that was the area where 3 more of the children were born. And once they had their land in Avon, they kind of lived between both places. And it seems like in the summers they were down in Avon, but then in Bell's Camp they were up there in the winter because of the schooling for the children, because Avon had no infrastructure as a town or really a community.
And as I recall, you mentioned the Red Cliff area. For those of us that have driven over the bridge in Red Cliff, share with our viewers a little bit about the vision that your family had, at least at that time, as it relates to the infrastructure and the bridge.
So my grandfather, Harry Nottingham, who's the name on the park, Harry A. Nottingham Park, was a county commissioner here in Eagle County for like 32 years. He was on the school board for 28. And he was a visionary with making an easier access from Leadville, on Highway 24. So they worked with the federal government and the state to get a bridge built at Red Cliff. So he was instrumental on that. He was also instrumental on Vail Pass in getting that to come over from Summit County to Eagle County. And he was the one that suggested naming it after the state highway commissioner, Charlie Vail.
Oh, interesting. I did not. Wow, that's fascinating. Now, Kathy, you had mentioned that, Avon and I'm assuming parts of Eagle County were part of the Westwood expansion. When you and I were preparing for this, you had mentioned that. Help us understand that a little bit, but then also Avon in context to the other towns in Eagle County.
At the time when the West was being settled, manifest destiny was a sort of philosophical concept. And people believed that it was our destiny. It was people's destiny. These immigrants from Europe and stuff to come and take over the Westlands, which were occupied by indigenous people, by the Utes around here. But they believed it was their destiny. It was their right to do that. So that's in part what brought these pioneers here. They're also adventurous. They're all looking for opportunity, and it's no small amount of work to clear the sagebrush off of 160 acres of land, build
My
a cabin.
back hurts just thinking about that. My hands feel torn up just thinking about that.
And when I research the pioneers, I'm often struck by how they did everything. They worked in the mines. William was a teamster. That's tremendous skill. You have to drive heavy wagons with a team of about 6 big workhorses and down Battle Mountain. You know, good grief. It wouldn't be challenging. They weren't afraid to try anything. I think they're amazing examples of what they can do for a community, and they were interested in making this into a better place too. A lot of them made money and spent it to make the community better. You know, they flipped real estate a lot. Like when he bought the Avon acreage from Herwick, they did that a lot because they were going on to the next place, the next best place.
Well, speaking of the next best place, ladies, sit tight, and our viewers, you must stay tuned because we've got a lot more to teach you and educate you on the town of Avon. So stay with us.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back to Good Morning Vail on TV8. I'm your host, Liz. Happy Monday, everybody. We have so many great segments here on TV8 Vail, and we also get to tie in with Covered Bridge Magazine, which makes us happy. They're amazing over there, and they do some amazing interviews themselves. Here's a look at an interview with author Sandy Ferguson Fuller.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Covered Bridge on TV8. This is Kim Fuller, co-founder of Jot Media Collective and editor-in-chief of Covered Bridge Magazine.
And I'm Bobby LaRue, the other co-founder of Jot Media Collective and the director of partnerships over at Covered Bridge Magazine as well. And today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Sandy Ferguson Fuller of Alp Arts Press.
Yeah,
Welcome,
Alp Arts
Sandy.
Press.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a new addition to your company, Alp Arts Press.
That's right.
Tell us about your experience in publishing. You've been a writer with all of our magazines, but Covered Bridge in every single issue, as well as an illustrator. So, but you know, far before that, you even went to school for publishing and specifically children's book publishing, and you do a lot of book reviews for us. So tell us a little bit about that history in your career.
I'm dating myself here. I hate to go that far back, but it's been 50 plus years, and I was very lucky to study in college with Maurice Sendak. And he was the author-illustrator of many classic children's books, but Where the Wild Things Are is probably the most famous for everybody. And he got about 10 of us were totally turned on to the art and craft and genre of picture book publishing, and that's what started the whole thing.
So one of your most recent projects we're featuring in this issue, so the summer and fall issue of Covered Bridge Magazine, and it's a series. And so let's see if we can see them. We'll have you hold them up, but maybe walk us through the Blues series, right?
The Blues are an intrepid group of 5 little anthropomorphic bluebirds, each of whom has a personality, a character, their own hobbies, but their main passion in life is birding. And I was co-author on this book with Carol Melner, who's a famous birder out in California, works with the Cornell Lab and also Audubon. And we were very fortunate to partner up with Louise Schroeder, who was in Colorado when she did these books, but is now in Austin, Texas. And the 5 little bluebirds go on, the first book is they actually go across America. In the second book, they follow the path of Roger Tory Peterson around the perimeter of North America, all the way from Canada around up through to Alaska. And on the third book, they venture out globally, and they end up on top of Mount Everest and in a rainforest and all sorts of fun places. The point of the books being, other than having fun with these wonderful birds who all have personalities, is to teach kids, this is their clubhouse, is to teach kids more about birding. And so there's a lot of fact, really precise information in the books, all about the habits of birders. You usually have a little notebook that you keep, and there's usually some sort of a field guide reference, and we have those in there. And then Egbert, who's one of the Blues, always has a birding tip for kids. So really, if you're an amateur beginning birder, these are for all ages because they teach you all about how to bird. And we go across, in this book, across the United States. And again, the blues always have little quips that add humor to the book, but there's a lot of really good information.
I mean, I haven't had a chance to look or read these books yet, but they absolutely look beautiful from sitting across from them. And now, I don't know if you've heard this, but during the time of COVID, birding has grown exponentially. Was that like part of the impetus, or did you just happen to hit it right at the right time?
Well, these have actually been out for a little while.
Okay.
We published these with Dawn Publications in California, and they are the publisher of the John Denver series that we did. And then we did several other nonfiction books with Dawn, and then the three of us actually sat down and brainstormed the concept for these. So the hardcovers are kind of hard to come by. I have them myself in my personal company store, but the paperbacks are still available through U.S. distribution, and they've just enjoyed a great audience. So we're hoping that with the surge, you're right, Bobby, you know, the great surge in birding, and we're hoping that they're going to get sort of a new shot in the arm.
It's pretty amazing. You know, it's not only these books. Sandy has multiple books throughout the Valley that don't just celebrate great stories. Some of them even support businesses here in the Valley. Like one of the ones I'm looking at right here is the Poop Fairy, and this wasn't necessarily support a business, but it did help promote some park cleanups that happened last summer. And then there was one, the Nifty Thrifty, that actually proceeds went to the thrifty shop here in the Valley.
That's right.
So besides, you know, meeting you in the Valley and someone crossing paths with you, where could they possibly purchase a book in the Valley or directly from you?
They can always go directly to me, which is at my website at alparts.com. The Bookworm usually has all of my books. They come and go a little bit on their inventory, but they can always order books for anybody who's interested. And they're great supporters of everything that we've done. We've got a brand new one. I don't have the hardcover yet, but just got the paperback in the mail yesterday. It's the latest book is the Bunny Poets in the Library book. So this is going to be at the Bookworm as well.
Nice.
And we'd love to send people there, or you can always contact me.
Nice.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, well, you might recognize if you used to go to or you went to the Bookworm when Sandy was there. She was there for over a decade, I think.
About 15 years.
15 years,
Yeah.
15 years, and all the while helping other authors and illustrators publish their own children's books through your company, Alp Arts, based in West Vail. So
right.
how has it been like to grow your company, you know, from the ground up, really, the past, did you say 50 years you've been in this industry?
I hate to think of it.
And how has it changed? How has publishing changed?
Publishing has changed tremendously, and I think the main difference now is that it's very, very conceivable and viable to self-publish. 10 years ago even, that wasn't the case, but there are a lot of publishing platforms out there, print-on-demand companies, so that just about anybody who wants to get a book out can get a book out. If they realize that once they've got a book out, they still have to market it, sell it, warehouse it, do all the things that traditional publishers have always done. Traditional publishing is still very strong. It's a very, very competitive market in picture books. It really helps if you're a celebrity to get published. But it's all about the bottom line in traditional publishing. And so I'm glad that there's more opportunity for self-publishing that's affordable and doable.
Awesome. Well, before we let you go, is it something you're doing? Are you still taking on clients, helping them produce books? Is there other ways people can interact with Alp Arts Press besides purchasing a book?
Yes, I'm still a literary agent. That's how I really started my career, along with the writing and illustrating back in the 80s. We started the agency. I still represent about 20 authors and illustrators. 80% are published, a couple are not. I'm not actively seeking a lot of new talent. I've been in this business a long time, and we're sort of going off in new directions with the publishing idea. But the door is always open to looking at books. And I also work very closely with a company out of the UK with editorial consultation. So I specialize in picture books almost exclusively. If you've got a YA novel, I'm not your girl. but I'm still open to all of that.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Great. Well, yeah, definitely pick up, if you can, find a copy of The Blues Go Birding at the Bookworm, or go straight to I don't know if it's at the Bookworm, so go straight to alparts.com and you can order these books. And also read all about them in Covered Bridge this summer-fall issue, 2023. And it's been wonderful to have you on, Sandy. Our theme is journey for this next issue, and just to see the journeys that the birds go on. I mean, just from the cover, you can tell that it's a really, really fun series. I mean, they're wearing packs, going up Everest, they're in the ocean, they're rappelling down rock walls. Really, really fun characters there. So, thanks for bringing this to life and for joining us today and for writing and illustrating for us in Covered Bridge as well.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for watching Covered Bridge on TV8. We'll see you next time. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome to your second hour of Good Morning Vail right here on TV8. I'm your host, Liz. We have something very special here in the studio today. We're going to find out about Avi Dog Whiskey. That's right, you heard me right. We are going to find out what whiskey was named after our very special Avalanche dog. And we also have more cooking with Tracy here on the show. So sit back and relax. Your second hour of Good Morning Vail on Monday starts right now.
Get up, get ready to start your day. The mountains are calling you out to play. Come on, we'll make you feel right at home. Good morning, Vail. See what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring, or fall. Your home in the Rockies has it all. So get up, get ready to start your day. The coffee's brewing, you're on your way. The fun is waiting outside your door. Good morning, Vail.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back. It's the second hour of Good Morning Vail on TV8. It's Monday, just the beginning of your week to kick off so many great things. Don't forget to get on over to Shakedown Bar this week, you guys. It's going to be amazing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's the Shakedown Family Band entertaining all of us. It's going to be one great weekend filled with so many fun things over at Shakedown Bar in Vail. Scott Redner, we've had him here in the studio. He's played for us. We love him. He's part of the band. There's a lot of great members, some of the locals that you might already recognize. So it's the Shakedown Family Band taking place at Shakedown Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We hope to see you there, everybody. We'll be back with more Good Morning Vail right after this.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Liz, one of the great hosts that we have here on TV8. Cece Zach is also one of the wonderful hosts here for Good Day Vail. She's going to give us a history of Avon right now.
This is the History of Avon episode, and we are in the second segment. And I am so excited to hear about history of the families here. Kathy, you had mentioned that you could tell a lot of stories about the history and people and what have you. And Kim, your family's been here forever. Is there an interesting or intriguing story that the public probably knows about, but our viewers probably don't, about your family that just creates more intrigue for this town?
Well, like I said, my great-grandfather, William Nottingham, was one of the original homesteaders, and he eventually went into business with partners Peter Pooter and Ernest Hurd, and they formed Nottingham and Company, and ultimately had 640 acres here in Avon that they were running as a ranching business. And
only 640 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but as things happen, drama happens, and business maybe wasn't going as well as they thought, and so there was some disagreements, and ultimately there was a shooting, and Ernest Hurd killed William Nottingham in self-defense in a barn in Red Cliff. So and at that point Peter Pooter had already died, so it was just then down to Ernest Hurd and Angeline Nottingham running the business, and ultimately they married 3 years later.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the story behind the story.
And now I guess it makes sense for me because there's a Hurd Lane in Avon, isn't there? So
my dad named that road after his grandmother.
After his grandmother, okay.
Yep, which was Angie.
Yep.
Nottingham Hurd.
Wow, that is definitely a made-for-TV movie type of story. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that with us. It gives us a different perspective. And so if we shift gears a little bit and we go from the family dynamics back to the survivor pioneering techniques and survival here in Avon, you had mentioned agricultural. So I think this town kind of started with lettuce.
This town, yes, Avon is agricultural. The Nottinghams were certainly one of the first to get established in agriculture there. Key crops were lettuce, particularly head lettuce. Okay. The warm summer days and crisp, cold summer nights make beautiful, tight heads of lettuce. And they coined some names for it: iceberg lettuce, Evercrisp lettuce is their marketing tool. Potatoes were also a big crop. Harry Nottingham, who was William's son, was a particularly prominent potato farmer. And again, the soils here were rich enough to do that. The ranchers around here were raising either cattle or sheep. Cattle were the initial livestock brought in, and the sheep came in later. But this was an agricultural valley, and agricultural drove this right up till the ski resort started developing. The strategy, if you're a homesteader, is you get partners or relatives to homestead adjacent parcels so you can expand your holdings enough to run cattle or to grow a profitable crop.
Okay. And did homesteading only occur in Avon, or was it in all the other towns as well?
Oh, all throughout the West, yes.
All throughout the West. Okay, so you're just saying, all right, moving on. You've been so gracious in supplying photos for us. And so if we could pull up some photos from Avon, I think we have one for you to look at. And Kim, maybe you could comment about how people got to school, because this is the Avon School.
That's the Avon Schoolhouse. So even though we're in the ski industry now, those skis were used for transportation for the kids to get across the snow to get to school, whether they're coming out of Beaver Creek or parts of Avon or probably even coming up from Edwards for school.
And the next photo we have actually showed how they were transporting. I believe this is the lettuce transporter, or the agricultural transport at the Avon train depot.
The little hand cart, the little railroad hand cart. Probably that's a section crew who moves that vehicle along and checks for cracks in the rails or something like that. But they're at the Avon train depot, which was key to shipping those lettuce crops, key to the agricultural success of the community. And it was located about where Burger King is.
Burger King. Yeah. All right, well, speaking of locations and being able to recognize this next one, For you viewers, even I recognize this one, not being here that long. I totally recognize that mountaintop. So which one of you would like to share what this is?
So that was the Avon Amusement Center, where the community would come and have socials, have dances, have parties. And the Gypsum Cliffs right above is at the entrance to Beaver Creek now. So it's about where the current bridge is, going toward Beaver Creek.
And as we talked about earlier, Mirabelle, the restaurant, is right around that corner there. That's an original building that was part of your family?
Well, it was part of, originally it was built by the Townsends, who were one of the homesteaders up in the Beaver Creek area.
Okay.
And then eventually Willis Nottingham and his family bought it when they started ranching. And Willis was the grandson of William Nottingham.
Okay.
And so then he was the one that was ranching Beaver Creek, and then ultimately sold his property to Vail Associates to become a ski resort.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so cool. Now, Kathy, we haven't had a chance to briefly talk about the Eagle County Historical Society. Please tell our viewers about the mission of your wonderful establishment.
The mission of the Historical Society is to share Eagle County's really rich local history with visitors and locals. We operate a museum seasonally in Eagle. It's in an unheated barn, but it's open during warm weather months. We work closely with the library district to maintain archives at the Eagle Library. We bring programs into schools. Very popular events are cemetery tours, where we have actors research people in the graves and then portray them. And we've portrayed the Nottingham several times in Redcliffe. They're buried in Redcliffe. It's a lot of history. What we find, if people know a little bit about their local history, it gives them a little bit of ownership in the community. They appreciate learning about it, and they feel like they're part of it.
And I love that you brought that up, because Kim, I'm sure your family had a vision for Avon, when they established it and being part of the community. Please tell our viewers how involved your family was in the community, even after helping incorporate the town.
Yeah, so my uncles, Alan and Arnold, were the last ranchers, and their ranch was in where the Avon town core is, and they sold their ranches in the early 70s to developers that started developing the Avon town core. Their cousin Bill still had his ranch a little further east. And they knew that ranching, that lifestyle at this part of the valley was kind of coming to an end. And it was time to start developing a little bit. And so they were, I think my Uncle Alan was the first mayor of Avon after it became incorporated in 1978. So I think we've been talking about the 100 years before we became an official town in 1978. A lot of people think that Avon is just since 1978.
That's
I'm
true.
glad that we're talking about what happened the first 100 years.
Absolutely. And as much as people back then probably don't know that they're creating a vision, they really are. There's an ambition inside of them, and there's a direction and a pathway in which they lead or guide their family and the community around them that really is ambitious. And that's why here we are, 100 years later.
And I think you still see it, as wild as those first pioneer Nottinghams were. And their story is wild. There's murder interlaced with the family, and sometimes they're on the dying end of it, and sometimes they're the murderers. But they also contributed to the community, and particularly the next generations. Harry Nottingham, with his many years as a county commissioner. You still have Nottinghams on the town council in Avon today. They're trying to make where they live a better place.
And Kim, with that being said, there are so many different places here in Avon that are named after the family. Can you just tell our viewers? The one that comes to my mind is obviously Nottingham Park, right off the top of my head.
Yeah, so Nottingham is Harry A. Nottingham Park, named after my grandfather, because he was a core in creating the community, not just in Avon, but the county of Eagle. He was a county commissioner, he was on the school board, plus he was a successful, rancher, depending on the season, but he worked very hard. I think he got up at 4 a.m. Then there's Nottingham Lake, so that was named after, in general, the whole Nottingham family. Nottingham Road, it's all there. And then Nottingham Ranch Road is more where Bill Nottingham and his family had their sand and gravel and their business that way.
Hardworking people. all of
Very
them.
hardworking people. And is there any, in 10 seconds, is there any historical books that anyone could refer to? I had read doing my due diligence that there's a Nottingham family history.
Well, that's kind of a chronological thing that my dad accumulated facts and dates out of all of his research. So it's not really a published book. It's more of like an internal family document. Kathy has it for the Historical Society, but
And it's in the libraries.
it's in the library.
libraries. Okay.
But there's not really a specific book about Avon, but I think that there are some books at the Bookworm by Laura. Remind me Laura's last
Laura
name.
Thompson, who wrote a history of Beaver Creek, which is certainly inseparable from Avon.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, and then I think, I was going to say that the town of Avon now has put historic markers around town with the different, like, explaining why it's Nottingham, named after Harry Nottingham, the park. And then there's about the water wheel, the power plant that Emmett and his wife have. So there's historic markers that people can
Love
see
that.
around town.
Love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Because viewers, I'm going to ask all of you to do a little trail of why our parks and our lakes are named after certain people and who they're named after. And with that, I cannot thank the two of you. I thank you so much for joining me. I mean, I learned a tremendous amount, and both of your commitment to community is just extraordinary, and that's what I hope our viewers get out of this, is that little bit of history and learning about things.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back, everybody. So many great things going on today. This is one of my most special interviews that we've had. Ben sat down with somebody super special. There is a whiskey out there that's been named after a special avalanche rescue dog. I can't wait to find out what they do. I wonder if it's the St. Bernard that carries the whiskey around his neck. Let's find out and see.
Welcome back to Good Morning Vail. We are now joined on the couch by Ryan from 10th Mountain Whiskey and the founders of Avidog, a new whiskey product for us. Would you guys introduce yourselves for us?
My name is Chris Mongo Reeder, and I'm the director of Vail Ski Patrol and a co-founder of Avidog.
My name is Mike Kang. I'm also a co-founder of Avidog and a longtime friend of Chris's and Ryan's.
Great.
So tell us a little bit about the history behind the Avidog brand and kind of what you guys are doing with this new product.
Sure. On Ski Patrol, we're always kind of looking for new ways to fundraise and benefit our local community and ways to give back. And that's kind of the foundation of where Avidog came from. Pairing our Avidog program and the success with those dogs and the popularity of those dogs into efforts to be able to support that. It turns into T-shirt sales and hat sales and exposure through different media outlets and appearances and things like that. The actual Avidog brand of bourbon was originally thought up as a wine brand and a partnership with a vineyard, and they did a run of what was wine, and we were able to raise a bunch of money, so that kind of got the wheels turning. And we're not really wine guys, so at the time we decided that maybe along the lines of someday another opportunity might come around with something that we're a little bit more aligned with, like a bourbon.
Well, and how did 10th Mountain Whiskey get involved?
You know, through the process of trying to find a partner in the bourbon industry, we were overlooking the obvious, I would say, for a little while. And during COVID, it was a tough struggle to try to find suppliers of bourbon. It's in high demand, and especially during COVID, it was pretty hard to come by. And so I think that we were guilty of looking beyond what was now obvious. Once we started to look locally, and we were put in touch with Ryan from a friend, it seemed like a perfect relationship, and it kind of grew from there.
Well, and 10th Mountain Whiskey's got quite a history of working with nonprofits throughout the valley, especially in the first responder and veteran space. Yeah. And so to mention, it's a natural partnership for you guys.
Yeah, it's a natural partnership in a number of ways. Vail Mountain being founded by a 10th Mountain vet, Henry being the first Avi rescue dog on Vail Mountain, being a service dog himself. When Mongo and Kanger came to me and told me about the project they were thinking about doing and pursuing, it was an immediate yes. I was excited about it. It checked all the right boxes for us, and so not only is it a fun brand and a fun reason to start doing some business with these guys, but also their philanthropic efforts as well that they're focused on really resonates with us too. So.
And is there a particular program right now that the proceeds from this run of whiskey is going towards?
Do you want to name off a few?
Kanger, why don't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right now we're benefiting Vail Avalanche Rescue Dogs, obviously, and then CRAD, which is Colorado Rapid Avalanche Deployment, and that's when they fly the dogs around into Avi zones in helicopters. And then the national foundation that we've identified is Canines for Warriors, and that's when they rescue or rescue dogs from high-kill rescue shelters. I believe 80% of the dogs are from high-kill rescue shelters, and then they donate them to vets that are affected by PTSD, traumatic brain injuries. So they're essentially trying to save 2 lives. So.
Fantastic. So with these 2 particular bottles here, there's a little bit of a difference. And why don't you guys tell us something about the specific whiskeys in here?
For sure. Well, kind of the unique thing about these bottles of whiskey is this was the first bottle of whiskey, I believe, that was actually a barrel selection by a dog. Henry himself, he's not with us anymore, but last summer we went for a barrel selection process at 10th Mountain, and Henry was with us, and we narrowed the selection down to 2 barrels, and then we set the 2 barrels out and had a bowl of whiskey in front of each of them, and I kind of taught Henry what the game was going to be, and then we did a best 2 out of 3, and Henry actually selected the first barrel of whiskey to go into the Avi Dog bottle. And so that's kind of a unique story between the 2. So there's 2 different versions. There's one that's straight out of the barrel, and that is the Barrel Select at 115 proof that's bottled at right now. And then there's also an 80 proof version of the same thing.
Well, fantastic. And so with the 80 proof version and the higher proof, you guys have one of them aged a little bit longer than the other one?
No.
Nope.
No, they're both aged 2 years in the barrel.
Fantastic. What gives this one the darker color here?
It's a... What do you want to answer?
Yeah, sure.
The smile on your face.
The darker color, it's a great question, right? And then it's something that people notice straight off the bat. And so the darker color is 115 proof, and then we use a reverse osmosis water to proof down the same exact whiskey, but down to 80 proof, so it might be a little more approachable to some novice whiskey drinkers that still want to partake and be part of the brand and enjoy our whiskey, but maybe don't gravitate towards the higher proof 115. So. That's the difference in the color and the darkness.
Plus, you can enjoy it for a little bit longer.
Can enjoy it a little bit longer as well, yes.
So I've been down to your facility there in Gypsum, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You want to tell us a little bit about your process and how you guys are developing these whiskeys? And
well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. And so our distillery is in Gypsum. It's a 7,000 square foot facility. We have a tasting room there. It's open 6 days a week. We use a 500-gallon batch system. So all the whiskey that comes out of our location is a 500-gallon batch system. We have a 500-gallon combination pot column still. And we do everything by hand there, from the whole cooking, fermentation, distillation process to bottling and labeling. These guys have come down and helped us do some bottling and labeling on the Avi Dog brand. And so we're open to tours 6 days a week and open to the public to come join us and hang out and check out our process. So.
Fantastic. And so let's go back to the Avi Dogs a little bit. I know that Vail Mountain has definitely really been kind of promoting their Avi Dog program a lot more in recent years. And with Henry being the original Avi Dog, tell us a little bit about Henry.
Well, Henry was our first. We already said that. That was how we developed the program, and I pitched it originally with Henry, and it was accepted. And so it was a fun process of figuring it out as we went. You know, there was a lot of background and legwork that I did beforehand, going to different dog seminars and things like that, and tapping into as many training resources as I could find. But then actually figuring out the program is kind of more of a boots on the ground, and figuring out what parts of the program cater best to whatever your operation is. And at Vail, a lot of our operation, it's unfortunate that Avi dogs don't have a higher success rate when you're looking for something, when you're looking for someone that's in need of that kind of assistance. You know, it's a much more useful tool to be able to use our Avi dogs on the front end educationally, and we use them a lot in that purpose. So the Avi dogs create an approachability with patrol and a connection that, especially with our local schools and stuff, allows us to be able to get in front of these kids and have that audience and have a little bit better engagement with them. And to be honest, that is the most beneficial side of having our Avalanche Rescue Dog program, is the educational side. Anybody that is going into the backcountry to participate with a plan, with their plan being that we have Avalanche Rescue Dogs available up top if something happens, that's not a good plan going into the backcountry. Just a simple side effect of the geography of where accidents happen and the reality that live finds in avalanche terrain happen within 15 minutes. And that window is your partner. It's not a phone call to a professional rescue agency that goes through a number of dispatchers and then a helicopter is sent to pick up the resource and flown out there. That's unfortunately not a successful plan most of the time.
And sometimes it can take 15 minutes just to get your ski boots on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of the foundation of our Avalanche Rescue Dog program and kind of how it's transitioned over the years. And we're at 6 dogs now. We have 2 new pups and there's another one on the way. And so it's an ongoing evolution.
Fantastic. And I mean, I'm sure you know better than I, but I would imagine that on Vail Mountain, burials aren't a terribly huge concern. I mean, I know people get tree welled occasionally, but inbound slides hardly ever happen in terrain where people are. So I would imagine you guys get a lot more work with the dogs, you know, partnering with CRAD.
Absolutely. And that brings up a common misconception too, is that that there is some sort of ski patrol presence in the backcountry. You know, when you're skiing at a resort, for Vail, at Vail, for example, we have 120 ski patrollers that are all working full-time to mitigate those avalanche risks within the ski area boundary. As soon as you go under that road, through one of those backcountry access gates and leave the ski area, then you get none of that, and you're completely reliant on having done your homework and understanding what the snowpack looks like and training with the gear in case things go wrong and having that right partner with you too.
Because once you guys get out of the gates of the resort, right, you're now in the territory for the Sheriff's Department and Mountain Rescue, and those guys have to stage and come out to get you, and that just takes longer.
Exactly, and that is part of the partnership that we have with the Summit County and Eagle County Search and Rescue groups, that we're available as a resource for them, but you're right, that takes time.
So, if people are interested in picking up some Avi Dog whiskey and helping to support you guys, do you guys have any events coming up, or where can they purchase it?
They're for sale at both of our tasting rooms, at our distillery in Gypsum, and then at our tasting room on Bridge Street. Right when you cross the covered bridge, the first shop on the right. So they're available there retail-wise. So.
And just quick aside, easily the prettiest bar in the valley.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I love that,
nice.
like wood coloring and everything. It's
Thank you.
fantastic.
And the location overlooking Gore Creek right there, it's absolutely terrific. Yeah.
And you'll often catch some ski patrol hanging out there enjoying a glass after they get done with the work day. So
Occasionally.
Well, fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of this fantastic information about the Avi Dog program and the new whiskey fundraiser. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
talk about salmon. Anti-inflammatory foods. They help your body stay healthy. They fight against disease. Of course, fatty fishes are a perfect anti-inflammatory food. And salmon is one of the healthiest things that you can eat. So we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in our pan. People get nervous about cooking fish, but I'm going to tell you something. It's super easy. The key is buy a good piece of fish and don't overcook it. And season it. Remember, we're talking about zucchini fritters again. We're talking about how you have to season things nicely. Like, look at how much seasoning I'm going to put on this. I'm going to definitely cover it with a lot of salt and pepper. And I'm also going to get like all these little pieces right here. Like, don't forget about that. Whenever I'm grilling steak or something like that, I make sure I get all the edges. The skin is still on it. So what we're going to do right now is put this flesh side down in the pan. Wait. My pan needs to be a little hotter, so I'm just going to make sure my olive oil is all in there. I want to hear a sizzle when I put it in the pan. And look at that, though. That's a nice piece of fish. Now, what they say when you are looking for fish, when you're buying it, you want to find a piece of fish that doesn't smell like fish. So if you walk up and you're like, ew, that stinks, don't buy it. You also want to make sure it has a nice flesh. Like, see how that's really firm? That's what you want. Okay, we've got a little bit of a warmer pan here, so I'm going to put that fish right down like that, skin side up. We will flip it over. It will not take very long. I put a cold piece of fish in a warm pan, so I'm going to turn the pan up just a little tiny bit. We are going to make an orange avocado blueberry salsa to go on top of the salmon. So see how I'm just pulling that off? It could ripen up another day, but we're using it today. So this is how you do it. You cut around the pit, the seed in the middle, and then you cut like this. This is the perfect way to peel an avocado, and this is how you get most of the nutritional value. You peel it like a banana, right? How many times have you tried to scoop it out with a spoon and it just hasn't worked out? This is how you do that. You peel this like a banana, and then we have a nice avocado. And look, I like the firmness of this. If I was making avocado toast, I would be disappointed that it was that firm, but since we're putting it in a salsa, I like it. Okay, so we're just cutting those up into nice little pieces, the kind of the same size as the blueberries. So I'm gonna get those in my bowl for salsa. The fish is cooking up nicely. I can hear it kind of sizzling, which is what you want. I'm gonna put a bunch of just whole blueberries. And like I said, blueberries are so good right now and so good for you. So we're gonna put equal amounts of blueberries and avocado in there. I'm gonna put a little bit of salt and pepper, because I love my salt and pepper. Gotta have it on everything. I really like spice, so we are putting some jalapeno in there. We'll mince this up really small. Depending on how spicy you want it, take the seeds out if you don't want it that spicy. Keep the seeds in if you do want it spicy. A lot of people claim that if you roast your jalapeno first, then it's going to be even more spicy. And you know what? I kind of believe it because I really like to roast those. Okay, that's too much. We're going to do about 1 part. So 2 parts blueberries, 2 parts avocado, 1 part zucchini. And of course, we'll have the real recipe because nobody likes it when I tell them parts. And then we're going to add some orange. Orange and salmon go so nicely together. I'm going to put a little bit of the orange juice right in there because why waste that delicious juice? And then I'm going to segment this orange. So when you segment an orange, you just do like this, get everything out of there. This is a good orange. I'm kind of surprised though, because oranges are usually a winter time fruit, but this one is juicy and delicious and smells really good. Okay, and then we're gonna segment it like that. So we're gonna do that all the way around just to keep the membrane out. This is a delicate way to enjoy an orange. All right, moving on over here. Gotta get the orange off my hands. If you're flipping your fish or your steak or anything that you're cooking in your pan or on your grill and it doesn't want to flip, it's like stuck a little, give it another minute. You want all those juices. Oh, this one's ready. See that? There we go. And it's starting to cook. I can see that it's still pretty firm. We're going to cook it skin side down now because that is going to make the skin cook and then it'll easily come off. All right, so we've got some orange in there and some jalapeno, some blueberries, starting to get a little messy over here, some blueberries and some avocado. Now I'm going to put a little mint in there. This is actually the only plant that I grow. All right, so put a little mint in there. We've got a little bit of the juice from the orange in there. And now I'm gonna add a little more salt and pepper. I know I added some before, but I'm adding a little more. And then I'm gonna add a slight, just a tiny bit of rice wine vinegar, just to give it that acidic flavor, taking it off the heat, skin side down. Now that's a sockeye salmon. So there's different kinds of salmon. So you get king salmon, sockeye salmon, coho, and pink. Most of the time we get sockeye. Sockeye is a delicious fish as well, and it's red. It's from the Copper River in Alaska, and that river is like 300 miles long, and these fish have to swim upstream forever. So they're big, they're meaty, they're delicious, and they're really healthy for you, high in omega-3s, and good food for anti-inflammatory eating. And then there's coho, and coho you can find as well, and that's kind of like sockeye coho is just a little bit below that, but it's still very delicious. Okay, there we go. We have our salmon. See, this is how I do it. I like just kind of touch it. See how it's firm like that? That means it's nice and done. Sockeye salmon with anti-inflammatory salsa on it. Go out there, cook, eat healthy, and enjoy yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Liz, your host for your Monday morning on Good Morning Vail on TV8. Now, most of us think of the library as just a place to go check out a book. Not necessarily. The Eagle County Library has so much more for us. Let's find out about all the great things they have to offer our community.
When we think libraries, we only think books, but that is not the case here at the Eagle Valley Library District, as they are the emporium of possibilities. And oh man, do we have possibilities behind us. And we've got Tegan Davis to walk us through all of the fun things. Yeah. Tegan, thank you so much for meeting us.
Oh, thanks for coming and exploring with us. We appreciate that.
Exploring is the perfect word, especially because everything that's around us, you can take on an adventure.
You can, and hopefully adventures will be had with these. So that's what we wanted to supply. We have an outdoors community, so we wanted to have some materials to get people outside and enjoy their hobbies.
And so starting kind of on the far end, we've got some nice trekking poles. If you just need that little bit of support, you don't want to buy them, maybe you just need them for one solid 14er.
Right.
This is the place to come.
Or you want to test them out before you commit, or you have some guests or family coming in, and this is a good way to get them on the hill, and it does reduce the impact on your knees especially. So I highly recommend trekking poles.
And it's so nice. All you have to do is get a library card and you can come in and take any of the fun stuff that we're going to talk about. Okay, so next.
Okay, adventure pack. So you got your children, your family, you're out in Sylvan Lake, there's bugs, you can collect them, you can look at them, you can work on your orientation skills. We've got all sorts of goodies in here, and this bag is actually curated by Walking Mountains, and then we partnered with them they curated the bag, and then we check it out so that you can get some nature education as you're out and about with your family. There's all sorts of fun things. This one's my favorite, cup the bug, and then you can really look at it. So magnifying glass, there's just all sorts of fun, amazing things in this pack.
Are you bold enough to just cup the bug? I would have to do it on the ground.
Most likely on the grounds. Yeah. I had one when I was little, and I got a bee, and I was very afraid to let go of the bee.
Right, you were like, it's going to be angry when it comes.
And then new to the collection of our library things, we have disc golf. So there are courses within the valley, and so if you're new to the sport and you want to try it, we have the disc for you. Give it a whirl, have a good time outside, and then we also have bocce ball. So if you got some bunch of friends, again, if you don't want to commit, you just want to try it, we have a set for you to check out at the library.
Or if you're just doing like a weekend barbecue and you just need that little bit of yard entertainment, this is the place to come because you guys have everything.
We're working on it, and so this is part of Library of Things, and so we are in collection of things for people to check out.
All right, we're just going to keep going because there's so many objects around me, I feel like we have to get through them all.
Good. So what you're holding right now is a solar-powered light that you can use camping, and you can hook up your phone and it will charge it for you so that you can be out and about on the mountains and not worry about your phone dying.
Or the battery pack dying because it's solar. Amazing. We love when things are good for the environment.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to grab this lovely red bag and bring it right over here for you to talk all about.
Okay, so this was a partnership with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and this is the State Park Pass. There's 42 state parks that you can travel to. You can come to the library, check out a State Park Pass for 7 days, and visit the park for free. In the bag, of course, includes some, some guidebooks, flora, fauna, so you know what you're looking at. But yeah, it's a great thing to take along and explore Colorado with.
The adventure pack and
pairs nicely.
So nicely, because then you can be looking at flora, fauna under the little cupping microscope and really just get your education on.
Get immersed into our wildlife and into our atmosphere of Colorado.
And then maybe you're missing some camping gear. As summer approaches, you're like, oh man, we're 2 chairs short for this camping trip.
Or you have someone tagging along that you weren't expecting. We do have camping chairs. So you can check out a camping chair, or if you want to go and you want to see the live concerts here in Avon and you forgot all your gear and you didn't schlep it over, come to the library with your library card and you can check out some stuff.
It's so easy, and I think people don't understand the possibilities that come from being a card holder at the library here with the Eagle Valley Library District. You guys not only have so many opportunities for great products to check out, but you also have so many great programs people can participate in as well.
We do, and so this summer we have our summer learning program for all ages, so you can win prizes for reading. So we're trying to make it fun all summer long, as well as free programs for kids all the way up to adults. So kids, teens, adults, stop on by, get your reading log, earn prizes for reading, and have a good time this summer at the libraries.
And then let's just talk about the process of getting a library card, because I just got mine and it took all of 5 minutes.
You just need to come in with photo ID. It can be your driver's license, it could be your ski pass, your gym pass, anything with your picture on, and you will walk out the door with a library card. We try to make it so simple.
It's that simple for people to have access to all of these great items and all of these things that you may want to have throughout the summer.
Exactly, for free. So come on in, get your library card, and you can check all this out for free and have a good time.
Tegan, thank you so much for taking the time and walking us through all of the possibilities here at the library. It always blows my mind what you guys have to offer.
Well, thank you for coming in and exploring with me.
We're going to take a short break. I'm going to take this adventure pack. We're going to go look at some bugs, and then we'll come back with more of the show.
Good morning, Vail. Good morning, Vail.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for tuning in to your Monday edition of Good Morning Vail on TV8. I'm Liz. I had a great time with you guys. We have a full week in store for you guys with so many great interviews, segments, cooking, you name it. We're out in the field. We're here in the studio to bring you the best entertainment here in the Vail Valley. Stay tuned, everybody. We are Good Morning Vail right here on TV8.
Good morning, Vail. See what lies in store for you. There's so many things to see and do. Summer, winter, spring, or fall. You're home in the right